when it comes down to church. Many of them are rejecting the whole concept of church and being in church on a weekly basis, and they're setting their sights on other things that really matter a lot more. So, my hat's off to millennials for rejecting church. This came out in the Washington Post, why millennials are skipping church and not going back, October 27th, 2019. Here are a few things we learned about millennials. Apparently, they prefer to relax and chill out opposed to going to church. So they have just straight out stopped going to church altogether, even if they started out in the church very young, like many of us did. I know I did. And now that they have reached an age where they are pretty independent, they are now refusing to go. The data comes from the findings of two surveys released this month, analyzing 2017 data from the American Time Use Survey. Economist Michelle Freeman of the Bureau of Labor Statistics found that while millennials are more highly educated and spend more time working than their older counterparts, they have stepped back dramatically from religious activities. At the Pew Research Center, studies tracking America's religious landscape found that although religious beliefs and practice have been declining at a rapid pace for people of all ages, the drop-off has been most pronounced among people ages 23 to 38. In 2019, roughly two-thirds, listen to that number, two-thirds, y'all, attend worship services a few times a year, two-thirds. And some less, or they say they seldom go. A decade ago, it was more than half, and only 3 in 10, respectively. So it's not really shocking that millennials are entering their prime working years now. You know, they're in that age range where they're gainfully employed and they're working each and every day. They've got to make their way, climb their ladder, pay down all student loan debt somehow. So what if they don't have much time for what the survey calls civic and religious engagement right now? Most of us tend to believe in a life cycle effects. Yes, people may drift away from their church or temple or congregations when they're young, but they tend to come back when they have kids and things settle down. I don't think they'll be coming back. I don't blame them either, except that's not what's happening either. Millennials are leaving religion, especially Christianity, and they're not going back. That's not where you belong anyway. What to make of this latest deviation? First, there's the discomforting reminder that millennials aren't as young as they used to be. Being born from 1981 to 1996 means that at the upper end, some of us are 38 years old. By then, you could be on your second husband and third career. Also, we may have killed Toys R Us, but we're still having families. 30% of us now have children under the age of 6. It's just that we're not drifting back into worshiping and volunteering. So they are leaving Christianity alone altogether and have no interest in going back. And Like they said, it's being seen across the board. It really is. A lot of churches are reporting in this country that they don't have the same attendance that they had even 10 years ago. So people are not attending church like they used to, but especially the millennials. But then again, so what? Will it matter for anyone other than the Sunday ushers whose collection baskets have suddenly gotten lighter? Oh, will it master? Hey, look, it matters to Preacher Pork Chop. He needs his collections. He needs his tithes that he's not even entitled to. So now this generation, they are just not interested in practicing faith, and they are not attending, and I don't even think they're concerned about attending, especially if they're focusing on careers. And many of them are working on Sundays rather than attend church. And Sunday is not even the Sabbath day, y'all. If you're going by the Gregorian calendar, then the Sabbath would not be Sunday because that's the first day of the week. But there's a lot of churches that are now changing over to Saturday worship, you know, than there were in the past. So you're seeing it a lot more. So the millennials are just not out here doing a lot of the same things that the generations did before. But you know what? That's not always a bad thing. When you look at the previous generations, believe me, we made our share of mistakes and could have done things better. Just like even the millennials, they could do things better too and get rid of all that depression and mental illness and I can't work. Y'all can do things better too. We all can. We all have our flaws. But one thing I can honestly say, I take my hat off to this generation for turning away from all this fakery that is going on in the church and finding other things to do with your time. So, in longer ranges studies, researchers are also seeing that millennials are busier, but also much more lonely. And that's because, I blame that really on the technology. And also, your parents are supposed to teach you those social skills of being around people and being able to socialize with folks. And I think a lot of times people get so caught up in careers, they're less interested in doing socializing, which can be detrimental in the long run because these folks don't know how to communicate that well. And that's a hindrance when you want to get married and have children and you have no real good communication skills at all. And technology has brought us together in a way where we don't really have to be eye to eye in order to communicate anymore. You can communicate on your smartphone through text messaging, through emails, and now being face to face is less important to people. So perhaps because they are lonelier, millennials are having less sex, attributable to fewer long term relationships, exactly the sort of tie ups that used to be fostered by churches and civic organizations. Pew and BLS surveys are MRIs for the soul. They give you a snapshot of busy millennial life that many will easily attribute to our phase of life. But while phases pass, the underlying need and wants will continue to matter. What happens when sleeping, working, and gaming more than our elders begin to make less sense. If we're closing the church doors behind us, we'll have to find somewhere else to tend to our spirits and our hearts. But yeah, but not church. You don't even have to leave your house for spirituality, because that's within. That has nothing to do with being in a church. So, ladies and gentlemen, please tell me what you think. Please tell me what you think about the millennials walking away from church and never going back. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.